Once you have a chart in place in your Word document, as we have here in our chart working file, there are a number of elements that can be turned on and off. If we click on our chart, it activates a number of items on the right here. First of those is the wrapping, but the one we're interested in is the plus. These are the extra chart elements that you might not want or might want. If I click the plus, it expands out and shows me the elements that we already have in place. Now, these elements were chosen by us when we chose this graph type. The axes are displayed. So that's the X and the Y. The chart title is displayed, so it's here. The grid lines are displayed, so these are the horizontal lines there. And the legend is displayed. That's why we see along the bottom, 2010, 11, 12, 13, and its various colours. Now, if you actually don't want any of these options, you simply remove the tick. So I could take the tick out of chart title, and I no longer have a chart title. Now, the thing with the chart title and a number of the other items, if we click it, there is a little pop-out that gives us some control about where it appears. So here it appears above the chart, or it can appear centered overlaid, and you can see that the chart title then moves down into the graph, giving the graph a little bit more expansion room, or we can go into more options. More options then opens up the right-hand side box here that says format the chart title, and you can see we can control the border, we can control the fill, we can control the shadow, the glow, soft edges, 3D format, and we can control the alignment of the text. So there's a lot of control if you want to go into more options. If I close that, it brings us back to the elements options. Now, although I've activated the chart title and we have it as center overlaid, it still just says chart title, but all that is a text box. We simply go in and delete the word chart title and type our own chart title. Sales comparison. Now, there are other chart elements in here, so again, click on the border to bring the options back. We could have the data labels displaying, and you can see if chosen, all the actual values that make the bars up are displayed. There are extra options here as well. If you want them to be in the center, inside end, inside base, outside end, in a little call out, or again, more options for formatting. So you decide really where the data values appear, if at all. Do you wish to have a data table? And that will appear by default below the actual graph. Or we have further choices with no legend keys, or again, more options for formatting. Not too sure we need the data table, so let's turn that off. We have the option for error bars. Again, there are further options here, standard error, percentage, standard deviation, or more options. Not really something that you would want to venture into too much. The grid lines, I can turn them off. Or if I do have them, there are options here, quick options. For primary, major, horizontal, so that's why we get the big ones across. We could have major, vertical, and you can see we get vertical lines. Primary, minor, horizontal, and we get some fainter lines. Primary, minor, vertical, and we get the fainter vertical lines. I quite like these minor horizontal ones, so let's choose those. Legend is ticked on, that's what appears at the bottom, but we can control a few things where it appears. It could be on the right, the top, the left, or more options. And we're taken into one of these little pop-out boxes which allow us to control where it appears, but also other options for the shadow, the glow, the fill, the border color, etc. So we can really customize elements of our chart. So all of these elements are in the little green plus, and you can turn them on or turn them off depending on whether you want them or not. You'll also find that you can do an element of customizing, such as the font size, simply by selecting, in this case, the chart title, but it could be the legend, it could be the axes, going back to the home ribbon and adjusting the font from here. And that will control, you can see we're going smaller, or we can go bigger, the actual font of the element you've got selected. So we could select this bottom row here, which is our labels, our axes labels, and we could increase the font size of those. So we can increase or decrease the font size, and we could even change the text color to match what we feel is appropriate for our chart. Obviously, we could distract totally from the color scheme. And the same with our left axis labels here. Again, we can go up and down should we see the need. Now, this can be quite useful if we look at, for example, our access manual with chart. In here, we've got a little chart and we can see the names of the databases down the left, but because of the font size, we can't see all of the database names. So we see DBase for the first one, but we don't see the second name here. Now if I were to go to Home now and just drop this font size down, it only has to go down 1 point and now it will be able to fit all the text in. So the ability to control that font size of a specific text element is extremely useful, as we've seen here. Back round to our chart. So here we've looked at the elements of a chart. They're all accessible through the plus, and you either activate or deactivate or go into more options to do further customization of them.